So welcome to the part 10. We are looking at real questions. So why do we call it real? So because these are questions from the past exam or exams. So you can subscribe to this channel for more content around certifications. So this channel covers certifications around AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and so on. So many people have cleared the certifications using these contents on this channel. So you can visit this playlist for more questions. So let us look at this question now. So if you see this question, this is a question on Azure import export. So suppose you have on premises, you have files, okay, and you want to move these to Microsoft Azure. We do that by using service called Azure Data Box, and Azure import export is used with Data Box. So what happens is on premises when you have files, you are telling Azure, boss, you have the data box, send me a data box. This data box is then sent by Azure to the on premises to the client office. Now you see this file, blue file here, blue box. The customer or you from the customer side will copy the files to the data box. You have done it now. The file is here now. So you see this file, blue box, it is in the data box. This data box is sent to Azure so that Azure can copy. So internally, Azure will use import. When on premises, you put the data in data box. When you are putting the file in the data box, you use Azure export. Now, if you see this documentation, it says import export jobs are now part of data box. See, you can import data in blob storage and Azure files. So SQL database, that is DB1, is wrong, and table 1 is also wrong. Since I have to choose one answer, I will go with blob container. Okay, so share 1 is also wrong. I will go with container 1. So you can use this diagram to understand how import export works, what are the steps. So it starts from here, steps 1, 2, okay, then it goes here, you ship it, then it comes here, you transfer the data, you package it, okay, and you complete the process. Now let us look at this next question. See, you have Azure storage, and then there are two apps. You see this app 1 and app 2. Both apps will read from Azure storage and they will make use of managed identity. See, if you don't use managed identities, then these are the exercises you do, like you create service principal, okay, you grant permissions, you set credentials, you store credentials on resources, you rotate the credentials, you clean up the credentials once you are done, and then you delete the service principal when suppose the Azure resource like the Azure VM you no longer need it, so you will have to delete the service principal as a cleanup exercise. Okay, this you are doing these many steps because you are not using managed identities. Now there is a better way to use managed identities for Azure resources. You create Azure resource with managed identity and you grant permissions. Okay, and as a cleanup, once you are done, you just delete the resource. You don't have to worry about cleaning the credentials like you did here and then deleting the service principals. You don't have to worry about this. So the question is already making use of managed identity. Now there are two key scenarios here. If you see this two key scenarios, this app 2 should read this storage only for 30 days. That means it is temporary. The moment you see something as temporary, you should go for shared access signatures. So you are basically granting limited access for a limited period of time. It is secure delegated access. So I have my answer for app 2. I would go for shared access signatures because the question says that this is temporary in nature for 30 days. Plus, you also have to minimize the number of secrets. Now, if you are using managed identities, you need IAM. So you have to use identity and access management. That is the access control piece here. See, we are not using access keys because you have to rotate your keys regularly as a best practice. And the question is saying you have to minimize the number of secrets used. Okay. Advanced security is about, it's a security solution. It will help you with threat protection. This is also known as defender for identity now. So these two would be the final answers. See, you have this question now, the next one. It is a storage question. Okay. So once you look at the question, you should be able to say which topic this is linked to and what do they want. As usual, they want to minimize cost. They want all hot, cool, archive blob tires. Anything that you can recollect, which one has these? So we are talking about these tires, hot tires, cool tires, archive tires, and so on. Hot tire means any data which is very active, red hot, should be put in the hot tire. Cool tire is like they are not frequently used. An archive is for archiving, like you don't require it now. After 6 months, you can put it in archive and you can store the data for compliance up to 7 to 10 years based on the uh, requirements for audits. See, Azure storage has all those hot, cold, and etc. But between storage and storage V2, Azure says, boss, you should upgrade to Azure V2. So do not use Azure storage. Always use Azure storage V2. This would be my first answer. If you look at file storage, these are file shares. They do not support hot cold archive tires. Now the next piece is interesting. It should provide fault tolerance if disaster affects a region. So if you have region 1, okay, and it goes down, this goes down. So what should happen? The system should be fault tolerant and it should become up from region 2. So the system is fault tolerant. If a fault happens, still the system would be up. So let us look at the options. Standard GRS. See, we should look at this. GRS means geo redundant storage. That is, copies your data synchronously 3 times within same physical location in the primary region. It then copies data asynchronously to a single physical location in secondary region. So if you see, what happens is your data is maintained, multiple copies are maintained. Okay, so in this region 1, it will maintain 3 copies and 1 copy in region 2. So if region 1 completely fails, this still has 1 copy of data and your system will still be up. This is called GRS. So this will meet our requirement. That's why we have marked green. But let us look at LRS. Now, what is LRS? See, this is LRS. It will copy and 3 times. It will maintain 3 copies in the primary region only. You see here, there is LRS is least expensive, but it is not recommended because see LRS, it is not having a copy here in region 2. There is no secondary region. It is only maintaining 3 copies in the primary region only. So if this region fails, your system is down and you cannot fulfill this requirement of the question. This line you cannot fulfill with LRS, and hence both the LRS options are wrong. I have not heard about RAGRS. I am not sure about RAGRS. So these two would be our final answer. If you have not yet subscribed, do so. Many people have cleared the certifications using the concepts and content on this channel. So you can click the link in the description and become a Cloud Kernel member to gain access to important certification questions. So this brings us to the end of part 10. Stay tuned. We will post many more such content.